everybody. It is such an honor to be on this stage. I've had such a great weekend connecting with everyone here and some really awesome, like-minded folks. I'm going to use this opportunity while I'm up here to kind of share a different perspective of hunting, and things will quickly unravel as I'm sharing my story. So, for as long as I remember, I have been obsessed with food. I love to eat more than you do. For example, from the ages of 4 to 16, when all the fried chicken was gone, me and my dad used to fight over who drank the gravy. Yeah. Obviously, it only made sense that I took my obsession to the next level and learned how to hunt, right? Well, there were some obstacles. I was born and raised in a beautiful city called Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Now, we're often compared to Portland, Oregon. We got the aggressive hipsters, microbreweries off the yin-yang, except our beer is slightly stronger. And so what that meant was I didn't know any hunters growing up. I had no idea that I lived in the hunting mecca of the world. It also meant I had zero outdoor survival skills. I didn't own a car. I actually still don't own a car. I have my license though, just want to make that clear. So I did what any sensible city gal was going to do. I went on Tinder. And I swiped right on every man that wore a camel. Ryan Callahan. So obviously that didn't work out. Eventually, I stumbled upon a group called Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. So with some mentorship and persistence, actually a lot of persistence, I finally got all my ducks in a row in about 8 months' time. And during that time, while writing my hunter safety exam, I connected with 2 other rookies, just as eager as I was to get out into the bush. We kind of sussed each other out as potential hunting partners and stayed connected. Now, the true test came when one of us drew a limited entry draw for a 5-point caribou in the buck middle of nowhere, British Columbia. It was a fly-in hunt in grizzly bear country, and you bet we went on that hunt. So I'm just going to pause here to really kind of paint the picture. You got a 20-something software saleswoman. You got a 42-year-old startup IT advisor, all-around techie, and then you got a 30-something cannabis consultant. I just want to clarify that that is a real government job where I'm from. All first-time hunters. This could not get any more stupid. Now, the reality of it really kind of marinated in when we watched the plane take off, and we were left in complete silence of the wilderness. We had 10 days worth of supplies, all in 3 backpacks, all our layers, a teepee, a wood-burning stove, our food, of course, and the wait was brutal hiking in. I remember I was shouting out every positive affirmation by David Goggins, Cam Haines, trying to convince myself it was all mental. It wasn't real. And it worked, because at one point I looked back and I heard, "Jenny, slow down. I think you need some more weight in your pack." The look on my face. I have to admit, before going on this trip, I was feeling really insecure. I thought I wouldn't pack out as much as the boys, I wouldn't pull my weight, but in that very moment, I thought to myself, I'm gonna be all right. So on opening day, we heard a couple of gunshots, and while hiking into the volcanic range where the herd is supposed to be, we passed by a crew that was kind enough to give us words of advice, encouragement. They even fed us bits of caribou ribs they had roasting on open fire to kind of light that extra encouragement in us. Now, the crew was caught between astonishment and absolute horror that 3 rookies were attempting this all on their own, unguided. One guy kept saying, "What about grouse, rabbit, deer? Y'all doing it all backwards." Now, it was really tested the next 2 days. We were hiking up these slippery slopes met by sheets of ice-cold rain and snow and fog so thick that when we tried to walk a straight line, we often got lost and turned around. I remember in that moment, I reached down and kind of picked up a deer jawbone to tuck into my pelt pouch, kind of accepting this would be my only souvenir home. You know, they say in moments like this, you know, you can't control your conditions, but you have full control of your attitude. But I just remember thinking, you know, did I dream too big? Well, another day came and we woke up to another snowstorm, but in the distance I saw a patch of blue sky. You know, that was my piece of hope right there. And at this point, we actually lost cannabis consultant to some wet boots. So it was just me and Techie hiking up our usual path up the hill, and we heard this clashing sound. And we paused and we followed the noise with our eyes. Looking up on this hill was the largest collection of animals we've seen this whole trip. And perched right on the very top was the biggest bull bedded down, chewing his lichen and looking down on his herd. In that moment, I thought to myself, no way were we gonna sneak up there with that many eyes and ears on us. But by then we figured caribou were kind of social or kind of stupid. I'm not too sure yet, not that experienced yet. But as long as you stood still when they looked at you, they kind of left you alone. So with a few nods and hand signals, we were off. So Techie with the tag slowly inched up the hill. I circled at the base where I would have good sight of the caribou in case it was injured and ran away. Felt like 2 hours when I finally heard a handful of gunshots. And all of a sudden, yeah. It's our first year, give us a break. So what felt like 20 minutes, all of a sudden, I start bombing up the hill. Okay, the brush was actually up to here, so it's like a slow-mo bombing up the hill. And we just stood there looking down at this caribou, and tears of just gratitude and relief were just streaming down my face in that moment. But then I felt a nudge in my ribs, and I look up and I heard, "Jenny, I hope you know what you're doing." With blind confidence, I said, "Yeah." Really, as I knelt down to take the first cut of the caribou, I was trying to recall that one podcast I like half listened to about butchery. Yeah. It took about 3 hours, and we ended up with 300 pounds of meat. I know, I'm pretty happy about it too. And I remember on the last trek down, it was completely dark, and I had just squeezed in a whole quarter bone in with a bag of loose meat. And I was so hungry at that point, for a bit of energy, I actually cut a bit of loin and put it in my mouth. It was like warm tartare. And that gave me a bit of energy to make the final trek down. And it actually took a total of, about another 3 days, and we started timing ourselves about 20 hours to actually finally get the load to the pickup site. And during that time, it snowed. And we were so relieved because we didn't have to worry about meat spoilage, but by that point, we were eating freeze-dried food for 10 days. So when I heard the distant putter of the float plane come in, I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to eat a cheeseburger and onion rings. I was so excited, I forgot to show you the picture of the caribou. Can we take it back one photo? There it is. after that backpack hunt, I was addicted to the uncertainty and the adventure of backpack hunting. And this is actually on the float plane on the way home. So we were up on those hills up there where the snow is. And my heart now belongs in those mountains. And it really encouraged me to kind of dive headfirst into the BHA. And I will do whatever it takes to keep our wildlands wild for generations to enjoy, to feel what I felt up on those mountains. You know, I firmly believe we all here should chase our passions. And for just a momentary bit of despair and suffering, just a little bit, we are all going to come home with stories of persistence and adventure that comes with it. Thank you so much for listening, and do what you love and do it often.